Four-star general stunned to see black millionaire handcuffed in courtroom with sick daughter. The courtroom was packed. Cameras flashed like lightning, capturing a scene nobody could believe. Right there, in the center, stood Darius Colt Train, famous black entrepreneur, decorated war veteran, his wrists bound cruelly in cold steel handcuffs. The metal bit into his skin, his jaw clenched tight, eyes burning with a mix of shock and silent fury. Just a few steps away sat a four-star general, his crisp uniform almost glowing under the courtroom lights. Crowds had heard his name for years: honor, service, sacrifice. Yet now, faced with this moment, the general's face paled, disbelief freezing every muscle. He swallowed hard, unable to look away from the impossible. Behind Darius, near the back row, a small figure, hunched in a hospital blanket, stirred the still air. A girl, no older than 7, with eyes too tired for her age. Her small hand gripped the edge of her mother's coat, as if holding on to the last thread of hope. Her sharp gaze seemed to pierce the courtroom, reminding everyone what was at stake. Whispers floated around the dark wood benches, hushed and bitter. How could they? Not him. Juries made up their minds. The weight of judgment pressed down, suffocating the air. Darius felt it crushing his chest like a lead weight. The shame, the anger, the helplessness. It twisted inside him like a storm. A crime he swore he never committed now hung over him like a shadow. Suddenly, a rustle and a beat of silence sliced through the murmurs. Someone slid a small device to Darius's lawyer. The lawyer's fingers shook as he pressed play. Out poured a crackling voice from a hidden recording, thick with conspiracy. The local cops, the very people sworn to protect, were caught plotting to silence Darius, branded a troublemaker, ready to be broken by the system. The courtroom seemed to hold its breath. The general's eyes darted, searching faces, trying to grasp the magnitude. Outside, the city of Rono throbbed with noise and tension. Unaware, cameras and phones streamed every moment. The air tingled like static electricity. Every second pushed the stakes higher. Darius's pride, his family's future, his own life hanging by the thinnest thread. Trembling, sweat slicked his brow. His chest tightened again, lungs burning, throat thick with words he struggled to find. Could he stand against this? Challenge the twisted gears of a system built to grind him down? Or would despair swallow him whole in this sea of judgment and lies? The room fell to a shattering silence. The general, the jury, Zuri, the whispers, all held fast as Darius's eyes locked on the judge, on the truth waiting to shatter the silence, waiting to save or destroy. What would come next? The answer waited on trembling lips. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And while you're there, drop a powerful like. It really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Darius's heart raced, the silence stretching unbearably. He could feel the weight of every pair of eyes in the courtroom, pressing down on him, ready to judge. The judge's gavel still hung in the air, like a ghost waiting to be summoned. As he swallowed hard, it felt as if the very air had thickened, a heavy blanket of dread suffocating his resolve. But then, in the charged stillness, a sharp sound sliced through, the crackle of a voice spitting venomous betrayal from the tiny device. His lawyer's face morphed, panic dancing in the green of his irises. Yet he pressed the button, urging the truth forward. And just as the whispers crescendoed into a low roar, another noise burst forth from the back. It echoed against the walls, shocking everyone into a spiral of confusion. The murmur of the crowd evaporated into gasps as a figure bolted into view. A woman, framed by the doors, her platinum hair cascading over an elegant black dress. Laughter still poured from her lips, yet it fizzled abruptly when she spotted Darius. "Oh, sweet Darius," she cooed, eyes dancing with malicious delight. "Did you really think you could get away with it?" The general's face shifted from shock to confusion to visceral anger as he turned to face her. "Who the hell are you?" His voice was sharp, slicing through the tension. But the woman only smiled wider, unfazed by his authority. "Didn't you know? I'm the one who orchestrated this little charade," she stated, her tone dripping with arrogance, contempt turning the heads of all present. The murmurs grew louder, panic flickering in faces like candle flames caught in a draft. "The evidence, the accusations, that's all me. I'm the one who wanted you out of the picture." Darius's world spun, his gut twisted, the coil of betrayal tightening painfully. You're the reason I'm here?" His voice trembled between disbelief and fury, struggling to find footing. "Yes," she sneered, stepping gingerly towards the front. "And it's all to make way for the future. A future free of your meddling. You wanted legacy? I'll give you one. You'll die a martyr." Her eyes glinted with a manic edge, as if savoring every moment of her cruel revelation. Zuri, catching glimpses of her father's shifting expression, reached for her mother, confusion knitting her brow. Darius's heart ripped open at the sight of his sick daughter, innocence pierced by the piercing realization of his own helplessness. "Who are you to do this?" he growled, fists clenching painfully against the cuffs. "You don't own me. I'm a warrior." "Oh, but I own more than you realize," she replied, leaning in, a dangerous whisper that froze him cold. "I am your past, Darius, your real past. The daughter you thought you lost, all a part of my plan. Believe me, everyone will see how easily you've fallen." A hushed gasp filled the courtroom, the shock tangible like a sudden storm. faces contorted in confusion. Darius could almost hear the gears of the world shifting outside, children playing oblivious to the chaos within. Could this woman truly transform everything he thought he knew? Could she unravel the bonds he had fought to protect? A mosaic of emotions swirled. Betrayal, rage, the flickering embers of hope extinguished by a chilling truth. The stakes soared higher, every second stretching with a savage promise of more dark revelations. "What are you saying?" he breathed, the question barely escaping his lips, as the gravity of her words pressed down. The courtroom waited, breathless, the air electric with anticipation. What had he been blind to all this time? And as eyes locked in a vicious battlefield, Darius could only prepare for the tide to rise, the currents of despair churning faster than he ever could have imagined. Darius stood frozen, the weight of her words dulling his senses. The room pulsed with a tumultuous energy, whispers spiraling like a storm, threatening to shatter the fragile air. What was she truly saying? He searched the faces around him, his lawyer stunned, the general's expression simmering between anger and disbelief, and Zuri, his little girl, wide-eyed and confused, her innocence looming stark against this chaotic revelation. But then, before he could articulate his next question, a gunshot echoed through the courtroom. An icy silence enveloped everyone. Time fractured as a man dressed in a dark hooded jacket burst through the back door, his face obscured, weapon drawn, sending panic rippling through the audience. Darius's heart lunged into his throat. Was this a setup? Was this woman connected to this chaos as well? "Get down!" the intruder screamed, a frantic terror in his voice. Chairs scraped violently against the courtroom floor as people scrambled, falling over one another, desperate to escape the chaos. Darius's instincts jolted into high gear. He twisted against the cuffs, but they held him firmly. In the frenzy, Zuri's mother shielded her daughter with her body, eyes darting, fear etched deep in her features. Darius's own fear twisted into rage. He could not let this happen. Not now. "Who sent you?" Darius shouted, straining against the metal. The stranger hesitated, gun still raised, until he caught sight of the woman, smirking at the front. "Your past. It's more than just this," he gasped, and then panic washed over him. "She's not who you think. Take the shot," he yelled, pointing at her, urgency cracking his voice, desperation spilling from the very fibers of his being. Darius's heart dropped. "Take the shot? No, wait!" he pleaded, but the chaos erupted further. The woman laughed cruelly, as if she reveled in this turn of events, her eyes flashing with a maniacal glow. And then the general stepped forward, a wall of iron resolve. "Stand down! This won't end well for anyone!" His voice boomed, commanding and powerful, contrasting sharply against the thunder of chaos enveloping them. Everyone held their breath. Would the general disarm the lunatic, or ignite an inferno? In that moment, heavy with uncertainty, Darius locked eyes with Zuri. who peered from beneath her mother's coat. The realization struck him like a thunderbolt. The man was here for her, not him. The fate of his daughter hung precariously, teetering on the brink of disaster. Suddenly, with blinding speed, the hooded figure turned, and in an unexpected twist, he revealed a second weapon, a calculated move that nobody saw coming. That's when the woman stepped forward, laughing again. But now it was different. "I told you, Darius, I own more than you know. Look around you." As if orchestrated by fate's cruel hand, a shimmer flashed from her wrist. An ornate bracelet, glinting ominously. The courtroom felt like a stage where every moment spun wildly out of control. "Do you really think I'd let you ruin my plans?" she snarled, her laughter turning cold. Everything shattered into chaos as the weight of truth crashed into Darius's mind. What plans? What did she mean? The tapestry of his existence swirled in a storm of hidden intentions and unveiled lies. "Zuri!" he roared, fearing the weight of the impending impact. But the shot rang out again, this time a flash of red, piercing through the chaos, a scream echoing against the walls, laced with betrayal, twisting an already strained reality. Darius's world split open, threads unraveling, faster than he could grasp. Was this all an elaborate ploy? As silence clouded the air, breaking with fleeting whispers of horror, the answer lay hidden among the wreckage, and Darius knew it was only the beginning. Darius stood frozen, the weight of her words dulling his senses. The room pulsed with a tumultuous energy, whispers spiraling like a storm, threatening to shatter the fragile air. What was she truly saying? He searched the faces around him, his lawyer stunned, the general's expression simmering between anger and disbelief, and Zuri, his little girl, wide-eyed and confused, her innocence looming stark against this chaotic revelation. But before he could articulate his next question, a gunshot echoed through the courtroom. An icy silence enveloped everyone. Time fractured as a man dressed in a dark hooded jacket burst through the back door, his face obscured, weapon drawn, sending panic rippling through the audience. Darius's heart lunged into his throat. Was this a setup? Was this woman connected to this chaos as well? "Get down!" the intruder screamed, a frantic terror in his voice. Chairs scraped violently against the courtroom floor as people scrambled, falling over one another, desperate to escape the chaos. Darius's instincts jolted into high gear. He twisted against the cuffs, but they held him firmly. In the frenzy, Zuri's mother shielded her daughter with her body, eyes darting, fear etched deep in her features. Darius's own fear twisted into rage. He could not let this happen. Not now. "Who sent you?" Darius shouted, straining against the metal. The stranger hesitated, gun still raised, until he caught sight of the woman smirking at the front. "Your past. It's more than just this," he gasped, spluttering with urgency. "She's not who you think." "Take the shot," he yelled, pointing at her, urgency cracking his voice, desperation spilling from the very fibers of his being. Darius's heart dropped. "Take the shot? No. Wait," he pleaded, But the chaos erupted further. The woman laughed cruelly, as if she reveled in this turn of events, her eyes flashing with a maniacal glow. And then the general stepped forward, a wall of iron resolve. "Stand down, this won't end well for anyone." His voice boomed, commanding and powerful, contrasting sharply against the thunder of chaos enveloping them. Everyone held their breath. Would the general disarm the lunatic or ignite an inferno? In that moment, heavy with uncertainty, Darius locked eyes with Zuri, who peered from beneath her mother's coat. The realization struck him like a thunderbolt. The man was here for her, not him. The fate of his daughter hung precariously, teetering on the brink of disaster. Suddenly, in a rush of adrenaline and fear, the hooded figure swung his weapon, aiming wildly. Shots rang out, 2, 3 thunderous cracks that echoed through the courtroom. Darius twisted, his heart a drum in his chest. When the sound stopped, silence fell like a heavy curtain. Zuri's mother cried out, collapsing to the floor, the thick scent of gunpowder mingling with the acrid air. Darius's eyes widened, skin prickling with terror. "No!" he screamed, wrenching against the cuffs with all his might. His gaze flickered to Zuri, who now sobbed openly, tugging desperately at her mother. "Mama!" But beneath the screams and cries, a different sound emerged. Faint, electronic. Darius's lawyer, amidst the chaos, had stumbled upon the device that had played the betrayal recording. It lay cracked on the floor, still emitting a low hum. And in that moment, a second voice broke through the static. A familiar voice. "Darius, it's greater than you can imagine." "I'm sorry," the recording stuttered, sending a chill straight down his spine. "Tracy?" he breathed, incredulity ripping through his chest like a dagger. It was his deceased sister's voice, the one he thought had died in a tragic accident years ago, leaving him shattered. The courtroom transformed, gasps morphing into hushed whispers of disbelief. "How? Why?" Zuri's mother stirred violently on the ground, her eyes snapping open with clarity, a wild desperation flickering in them. "We didn't know, none of it. We thought you were dead too." Everything Darius thought he knew flipped like a switch. This woman, the orchestrator of his downfall, the one who claimed ownership of his life, was connected in ways even he couldn't begin to fathom. The courtroom erupted. Faces twisted in shock as the implications sank in. If his sister wasn't dead, if this conspiracy ran deeper than he ever thought possible, what other threads were being woven in this tapestry of betrayal? Darius's breath quickened, despair mixing with a furious resolve. "What have you done?" he demanded, eyes darting between the fallen bodies and Zuri's terrified face, a storm brewing within him. The woman's smile turned sinister as she took a step back, her voice dripping with malice. "Oh, Darius, you have no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes. You never escaped your past. It shaped you." And suddenly, the tides of the narrative shifted irrevocably. With tangled emotions and a new reality threatening to engulf him, Darius realized he wasn't just fighting for his freedom anymore. He was fighting the truth was out there, waiting to be unearthed. But this battle had only just begun. Darius stood frozen, the weight of her words dulling his senses. The room pulsed with a tumultuous energy, whispers spiraling like a storm, threatening to shatter the fragile air. What was she truly saying? He searched the faces around him, his lawyer stunned, the general's expression simmering between anger and disbelief. And Zuri, his little girl, wide-eyed and confused, her innocence looming stark against this chaotic revelation. Before he could articulate his next question, a sudden flash of light illuminated the courtroom. Darius squinted as a figure in a crisp, sunlit uniform burst through the double doors. Another general, this one wearing 4 stars that sparkled like diamonds in the fluorescent light. He was flanked by 2 imposing guards. Tension morphed into palpable dread as both the intruder and the officer locked eyes on the woman. "Arrest her," the new general commanded, his voice deep and authoritative, echoing through the chaos. Darius's heart leaped, momentarily piecing together a thread of hope. Maybe justice would find a way. Yet, the woman merely chuckled, her laughter rising like venom. "Your justice is as blind as the law itself," she retorted, barely fazed by the abrupt intervention. "You don't know the half of it." And then, everything unraveled. With surprising agility, she reached under her dress, withdrawing a small device that glimmered ominously. Before anyone could react, she pressed a button, and the room filled with a blaring siren that bludgeoned against the eardrums. Darius's world spun. The officers hesitated, confusion crystallizing on their faces. The laughter faltered, the tension momentarily suspended in disbelief. Then, a blinding flash erupted from the device, lighting up the room like a solar flare. In that moment, everything dissolved into chaos. The courtroom began to shake, vibrating beneath their feet. Cracks spiderwebbed across the walls, and the air grew thick with dust and debris. And then came the revelation. As the chaos swirled, something shattered. The wall behind the woman burst open, unveiling a hidden chamber filled with files stacked to the ceiling. Inside those files lay photos, Darius, Zuri, and countless others, their lives meticulously documented. The faces shown echoed sorrow and pain, each belonging to people marked by loss or silence. Lost family members, clandestine connections. "What is this?" Darius gasped, the scream of realization clawing at his throat as he struggled to comprehend the gravity of the revelations. The general's expression shifted. Horror washed over him, illuminating the truth buried beneath layers of betrayal. "I was never the orchestrator, Darius," the woman sneered, eyes glinting. "I was merely the pawn placed to draw out the real player." A pause punctuated her words, tension crackling between breaths. "And now it's time for you to learn who truly runs Rono." Suddenly, the lights flickered and dimmed, and a shadowy figure stepped from the chamber, emerging like a phantom from another realm. The courtroom gasped as the figure removed its hood. A face Darius thought he would never see again. The face of his estranged brother, Caleb, once presumed dead. "Bro, how?" Darius's voice trembled, reality shattering around him. Caleb stepped forward, eyes glistening with a mixture of regret and fierce purpose. "You thought you lost everything, but you've only scratched the surface, brother. Welcome to the family business." A collective murmur rippled through the courtroom, disbelief etched across every face, confusion wreaking chaos where certainty had stood. Darius's world tilted, spinning on the axis of a new reality. The stakes had risen to an unfathomable level, weaving betrayal deeper than he ever thought possible. As the sirens wailed and allegiance crumbled like dust, the depth of Caleb's revelation cut deeper than any betrayal. Darius felt the threads of his life tighten around his throat, a noose pulling him closer to the truth, dark and unforgiving. "Caleb," he cried, desperation lacing his voice, "what have you done?" But the answer was obscured by the electric tension in the air, waiting, poised to unravel the secrets that had shaped them all. Darius's mind spiraled, grappling with the presence of his brother, Caleb, a ghost resurrected from the depths of his darkest memories. The courtroom, once a battleground of accusations and fear, felt like a slow-motion kaleidoscope, awash in uncertainty. Darius's heart thumped chaotically, a caged beast threatening to break free. "Caleb, why?" The words staggered from his lips, unraveling the threads of disbelief that held him captive. But before Caleb could respond, an unexpected voice cut through the suffocating tension, a crisp, authoritative shout, breaking the chaos like glass shattering against stone. "Enough!" It was Zuri's voice, young yet defiant, ricocheting against the walls, freezing everyone in their tracks. She stepped forward, her clear eyes unwavering. "Don't hurt my daddy!" Gasps erupted, shock coursing through the audience like electricity. Darius's breath caught, a mix of disbelief and pride swelling within him. "Baby, step back!" he yelled. But Zuri stood her ground, the embodiment of innocent courage. Caleb's face twisted, confusion threading through his features. "Zuri," he stammered, disbelief lacing his voice. "How can you be—" But before he could finish, Zuri thrust forward another shocking revelation, her small voice slicing through the tension. "You're not my uncle," she declared, her words piercing like daggers. "You're just someone who hurt my mommy." Darius's world tilting again. His heart raced, pounding against his ribs as the truth hit him like a freight train. "What are you saying?" Panic danced across his features, disbelief morphing into a frantic urgency. Zuri's youthful candor took the courtroom hostage. "Because I know who you really are," she pressed. "You got her killed." A collective gasp reverberated through the courtroom, faces turning pale, whispers spiraling wildly. The woman, the orchestrator, gasped, her predatory smile shattering into horror. And then, without warning, Zuri reached into her pocket, an act so innocent, yet bearing the weight of steel. She produced a small, unassuming device, one mirroring the chaos activated earlier. "I heard everything you said. I knew you were lying." Voices rose, panic churning like water in a storm. "What have you done?" Darius whispered, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach, chills crawling across his skin. Zuri pressed a button, and the sharp beep cut through the air before the screen on the device flickered to life, displaying photos. Not just any photos, but images of the woman standing in front of him with varying faces. Doctors, law enforcement officials, and dark figures cloaked in shadow, all connected to his family's most putrid secrets. His heart sank as the realization unfolded. She had orchestrated not just his downfall, but a breeding ground of pain for countless families. "No, it can't be," Darius gasped, the walls closing in as fragments of his life hurtled into the spotlight. "You killed her. You killed Tracy." The courtroom erupted in chaos again, as murmurs morphed into a cacophony of accusations directed at the woman, her facade crumbling under the weight of the truth. The general, previously a bastion, "Darius, I didn't know. I swear," he pleaded. But the raw betrayal was palpable, slicing through the air like a blade. "You're all twisted," Darius howled, fury rising like smoke. "I'll expose you, all of you." The enormity of Zuri's revelation surged through him, igniting a flame that could burn down worlds. The woman snarled, the mask of deceit cracking, revealing a glimmer of genuine fear. "You're playing with fire, Darius. This will destroy everyone." Yet Zuri stood unwavering, her youthful strength an anchor. "No, the truth will free us." The weight of her declaration drew heavy silence through the courtroom. In that profound moment, as Darius held his daughter's gaze, a flicker of hope amidst the wreckage, the door shattered open once more, and a new figure stepped in. This time, it wasn't another general or an intruder, but a forensic investigator, suitcase in hand, bursting with revelation. "Sorry I'm late," she announced breathlessly, eyes darting around. "But you'll want to see this." She opened the case, revealing documents, files, and a glowing device labeling names that sent shockwaves through the courtroom. "Your families, the connections, there's more." It was a revelation that would reshape their fates. Connections to a tangled conspiracy woven deep into the roots of Rono itself. Darius felt the ground beneath him tremble, destiny hanging on the precipice of revelation, and he knew this battle was only just beginning. The investigator's suitcase clicked open, revealing documents that spilled out like a "what more could there possibly be?" he thought. "Look!" the investigator shouted, her hands trembling as she brandished a folder filled with photographs. "This connects all of them. Everyone you thought you knew. Look at the names." The faces of powerful officials, masked figures, and shadowy figures stared back, eyes piercing through the veil of secrecy that had kept their malevolence hidden. Darius squinted at the images, horror gripping him. "What does this mean?" he hissed, desperately, envisioning the extent of the calamity woven into the fabric of his life. It felt like the walls were closing in, reality blurring into a nightmare from which there was no escape. Then, Zuri stepped forward, her defiance coiling tighter, eyes glimmering with knowledge. "I know who they are," she declared, voice unwavering, even as the intensity escalated around her. "They're all connected to the company Mom worked for. They wanted to bury the truth." A murmur washed over the courtroom, disbelief drifting thickly through the air. Was it true? The implications felt like a storm ready to unleash its fury. Darius glanced at his brother, Caleb, whose face was a mask of confusion and shame, shock etched into every line of his features. But before anyone could respond, a low rumble echoed through the courtroom, disrupting the explosive tension. The lights flickered, and heavy footsteps echoed against the marble floor. Suddenly, the doors swung open, and a tall figure in a pristine suit strode in. The figure's cold demeanor and steely gaze quelled the room into suffocating silence. "Enough of this farce," the newcomer stated flatly, locking eyes with Darius. It was Samuel Hargrove, the city's most influential businessman, whose name held as much power as fear. Darius's gut twisted in recognition. He had always seen Hargrove as untouchable, an architect of the corrupt system that held him prisoner. "And I see you've all gathered for a little family reunion," Hargrove continued, mocking derision crawling through his tone. With a snap of his fingers, 2 guards flanked him, eyes scanning the chaos as if daring anyone to challenge his authority. "But what you really need is the truth." Darius's mind whirled. "You? What do you know?" Hargrove smiled, a cold, cutting grin that sent chills racing down Darius's spine. "More than you realize, Darius. But let's not dwell on trifles. It's time you learned about your family lineage, the truth that will shatter your semblance of understanding." "What do you mean?" Darius shot back, heart pounding, raw panic clawing at him. Caleb stepped forward, brows knitted in apprehension. "What are you talking about, Samuel?" "Oh, your brother doesn't even know," Hargrove sneered. "He doesn't know that Tracy wasn't just your sister, but she was also a key player in a game much larger than you could both fathom. You were never meant to survive the betrayal, Darius." Stunned silence enveloped the courtroom, confusion erupting like a wildfire. Darius felt the floor shift beneath him, reality fracturing. "What are you saying?" "Tracy was working to bring down this very empire," Hargrove continued, his voice dripping with malicious satisfaction. "You were the collateral damage in a war your sister wanted to win, and your entire existence was orchestrated to cover it up." Shock coursed through Darius, his heart thundering with betrayal. "No, that can't be true," he rasped. Zuri edged closer to her father, trembling. "Daddy?" Hargrove turned to her, grim satisfaction dancing in his eyes. "Oh, she was the leverage we needed. You've been nothing but a pawn in a game where the board is more complex than you'll ever understand." The air in the courtroom grew thick with despair, Darius feeling the crushing weight of betrayal suffocating him. "You lied. You all lied," he roared, rage spiraling out of control as Zuri clutched his leg, her small body trembling. But just as the room stood on the precipice of chaos, Hargrove pressed an unseen button on his watch. A low hum filled the air, a sound that echoed ominously within the hearts of all present. "Ah, but the best is yet to come. You never knew about the emergency protocols put in place to protect this empire from collapsing." Welcome to the real game. And with that pronouncement, a screen flickered to life behind him, illuminating their faces, and what it revealed shattered everything Darius thought he knew. A hidden layer of conspiracy enveloping him in darkness. As the silhouettes danced across the screen, he felt the last vestiges of hope slip through his fingers, spiraling into the abyss of despair. The sudden implication left everyone breathless, and from the depths of this horrifying revelation emerged the truth. A truth that bound them all together in a web of deception, betrayal, and impending doom. What monstrosity lay waiting in the shadows? Darius couldn't prepare for the seismic shift that was about to rock their very existences. And all he could do was brace himself for the storm that followed. Talons of fate descending to tear apart everything he thought he held dear. The screen hissed to life, casting a glow that turned the courtroom into a theater of betrayal. Darius felt his heart racing as he leaned forward, eyes glued to the images flickering across the stark surface. Each face flashed, all familiar yet twisted. Friends, colleagues, people he thought he could trust. Dread sank in his stomach like a stone. What do you see, Darius? They've all been playing their part. Your sister, your brother, all of them. His voice dripped with mockery. The weight of Hargrove's words sank into the room, suffocating and palpable. But before Darius could catch his breath, the unexpected happened. A shriek pierced the charged atmosphere. Zuri's mother, struggling against the ground, her eyes wide with horror. "No," she gasped, her voice raw, fingers clawing at the floor. Everyone turned, confusion rippling through the crowd. Darius's heart raced, a terrifying thought clawing at the edges of his mind. He pressed forward, straining against the cuffs, desperate to reach her. "What's happening? What do you know?" Suddenly, with unprecedented ferocity, Zuri's mother lifted her gaze to Darius, fury and fear mixing in her expression. "You're too late, Darius. You've all been blind." Then, as if struggling against invisible chains, she rose with an urgency that stunned the crowd. "Enough of this charade!" she shrieked, pulling at the collar of her dress, revealing a glimmering silver pendant, a family crest Darius recognized with sudden clarity. The gathered onlookers gasped, confusion mounting. "I've waited too long to reveal the truth." "What truth?" Darius yelled, anger surging like fire. "What the hell are you talking about?" Flashes of realization danced across the room, eyes widening. It was the crest, the very one that linked back to an ancient lineage in Rono, a family long thought lost. Only it wasn't lost at all. "You're a part of this?" he stammered. "Yes," she shouted, voice trembling yet powerful, igniting the room's tension. "I'm not just Zuri's mother. I'm your sister, your twin." Silence crashed like thunder, a wave of disbelief washing over everyone. Darius staggered, the world spinning around him. "What?" His heart raced, a torrent of betrayal threatening to drown him. You're lying." The collective incredulity of the courtroom shifted the air, whispers igniting the tension once more. This isn't possible, one juror murmured, shaking their head, unable to process the destruction of their reality. Your sister's death was a cover-up, she continued, tears cascading down her face, the anguished truth ripping from her lips. Tracy was a martyr to protect our bloodline, one that would dismantle Hargrove's empire. And I had to stay in the shadows to ensure Zuri was safe. Hargrove's face morphed from smug to furious, the pressure boiling within him. "You're a fool," he spat, voice trembling with rage. "You've just dug your own grave." Darius struggled for coherence, disbelief morphing into a painful revelation. "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice cracked, echoing the devastation that tremored within him. "You let me believe she was dead, because you needed to survive," Zuri's mother yelled, eyes blazing with hurt. "I enlisted myself into this war to protect you, and now you must choose your family or your so-called justice." In that moment, Darius felt the fabric of his life unravel yet again, the painful truths he had sought suddenly obscured by the weight of blood ties. Echoes of their struggle, intertwined like a chaotic symphony. He locked eyes with Zuri, a spark of clarity igniting within the uncertainty. Out there, the storm was gathering, a reckoning fueled by each secret unmasked. Would Darius continue to fight, or embrace the legacy he had never known was his? The stakes had shifted, and the cost of the truth would demand a price far greater than he could fathom. Darius felt the heavy weight of uncertainty bearing down on him. The courtroom was thick with tension, thick enough to slice through, as Zuri's mother's revelation echoed in his mind, distorting everything he thought he knew. "Your sister, your twin." The words filled the air, heavy and oppressive, pulling at the threads of his reality. Samuel Hargrove glared, as if Zuri's mother had just committed a cardinal sin. Dread pooled in the pit of Darius's stomach. An unsettling sense of fear spiraled as he watched the surreal spectacle unfold before him. "You've all been blind," she had shouted, holding their collective fate in her trembling grasp. Darius's heart beat like a trapped animal, desperate for freedom, desperate for understanding. "Enough!" Hargrove's voice sliced through the stillness. "This charade ends now." He stepped forward, his shadow growing larger in the charged room, the air crackling with impending violence. Zuri's mother squared her shoulders, eyes fierce with resolve. "You can't control the past, Samuel. The truth is out." "For now," he interrupted, a chilling smile stretching across his face. "But the real question is, how badly do you want to live to see it?" With a swift motion, he triggered a small device dangling from his belt, and the courtroom erupted into chaos. The ground shook, the walls trembled, the lights flickered dangerously, threatening to snuff out the last vestiges of hope. Darius steadied himself as pandemonium erupted. Chairs toppled, and people screamed, clutching desperately at their loved ones. The air was filled with the scent of fear, a bitter tang that suffocated any chance of calm. "Get down!" Caleb shouted, lunging towards Zuri and her mother. But it was too late. The sudden shockwave from Hargrove's device unleashed a surge of blinding white smoke, filling the room. Amidst the confusion, Darius's instincts kicked in. He fought against the cops, hungry to protect his daughter, to shield her from the horror surrounding them. And then, in the midst of the chaos, a figure emerged. A tall woman appeared from the spiraling smoke, face obscured by a dark hood. But as she pushed through the haze, recognition hit Darius with a visceral punch. It was Tracy. "Tracy!" Darius gasped, voice cracking with disbelief. "How is this?" "Surprise, Darius," she said, her voice dripping with an unsettling calm. "What you didn't realize is that I had larger plans than you ever anticipated." Hargrove's face twisted with a mixture of rage and realization. "You shouldn't be here. You were dead? A cover-up? A martyr? All part of my plan, Samuel." Tracy's eyes sparkled with a fierce fire as she stepped closer, pulling off the hood to reveal a face unchanged by time, yet etched with pain. The courtroom gasped collectively, disbelief rippling like a cruel wave. "No," Darius breathed, mind racing to process the implications. The sister he mourned was standing right in front of him, alive, while the world around appeared to disintegrate. Zuri, wide-eyed with confusion, tugged at Darius's leg. "Daddy?" Her small voice pierced through the tumult, innocent amidst the chaos. "Zuri, stay close," he shouted, his chest tightening with a mixture of anger and fear. "What is happening?" "All these years, I had to play the dead sister, to expose Hargrove's empire from within, to break the chains of my past." Tracy opened her arms, revealing a glinting device in her hand, a master key of sorts, designed to finally dismantle the legacy of pain they had endured. And now, it's time to set everything right, to take back what's ours. Darius's heart pounded like a war drum, but at what cost? He shouted, fear leaping into anger. "You put us all at risk!" But before he could finish, Hargrove lunged, desperate to seize control, unearthing a sinister device of his own, a remote detonator. "You won't touch what's mine, Tracy!" Time slowed, as the realization crashed over everyone in the room. The stakes had escalated beyond anything they could have imagined. In the blink of an eye, the walls of the courtroom seemed to close in like clutches of fate, each breath shadowed with finality. Before Darius could react, Tracy pressed a button, unleashing a wave of explosive energy, a pulse that rippled through them all. "We'll either break free or fall together," she yelled, defiance intertwined with desperation. And then, darkness enveloped the courtroom in an explosive crescendo, a moment that shattered familial bonds, unveiled buried secrets, and left every soul suspended in uncertainty. What would emerge from this chaos? The answer lingered, imminent, yet elusive. Breathless silence settled like a shroud, and Darius stood in the center of it all, heart racing alongside secrets more profound than he could fathom. Darius blinked against it, still reeling from the explosive energy that had ripped the courtroom apart. As the dust settled, he looked to Tracy, heart pounding. "Is it over?" Tracy stood tall, eyes fierce with resolve. Not yet, but we can end this. Together. She took a deep breath, holding the device tightly in her hands. We expose them. We take our lives back. Zuri looked up at her father, fear flickering in her eyes. Daddy, are we safe? Her voice shook, small and fragile. Darius knelt, meeting her gaze head-on. Yes, sweetheart, we're going to be okay. With a shaky hand, he brushed a lock of her hair from her face, swallowing hard against the tears that threatened to spill. Hargrove and his guards, momentarily stunned, regrouped. You think this is over? Hargrove spat, anger crackling in the air. I've built empires. You're just playing a losing hand. The courtroom buzzed with tension again, whispers of disbelief bouncing off the walls. You think you can control this? Tracy shot back, her voice steady. This ends now. You're not invincible. With that, she pressed the button on the device and exposed the truth. Documented evidence lit up the room, flickering images showing Hargrove's secrets, his empire built on lies and manipulation. The audience gasped, every face reflecting shock. Look at this. This is who you're following. Darius felt a warm rush of satisfaction. He watched disbelief twist Hargrove's features, cracks forming in his confident facade. The guards hesitated. You think this will change anything? One of them protested. But the uncertainty was palpable. Yes, it will, Zuri's mother interjected, her voice fierce. We take back our narrative. You can't silence us any longer. The air thrummed with newfound power. With every flicker of evidence, the walls seemed to close in on Hargrove, tightening around his fragile control. Hargrove's bravado began to fade as the murmurs of betrayal grew among his followers. When the last image faded, Darius felt a surge of hope. Together, we'll hold you accountable. This is just the beginning. He clenched his fists, determination radiating from him. Suddenly, the remaining guards dropped their weapons. The defense prepared to step forward, affirming their new allegiance. Hargrove's smirk faded into anger, his eyes darting around, realizing he was more and more alone. Do you know who you're messing with? He shouted, but the soul of his threat faltered in the waves of mounting resistance. Darius locked eyes with Zuri, who gave him a small, brave smile. It was a glimmer of hope, the spark that he needed to keep pushing forward. This family stands united, Darius declared, voice carrying through the courtroom. The air shifted, uncertainty starting to transform into solidarity in the hearts of those present. A wave of energy washed across the room, a collective commitment to face the truth together. As police sirens wailed in the distance, Darius turned to his family. Let's go home. With the sunlight spilling through shattered windows, a flicker of sunlight guided them through the chaos. They were united, father, daughter, sister. With the threat of Hargrove diminished, they faced the uncertainties ahead, ready to rebuild. Epilogue. Somewhere in the shadows, a lone figure watched, an unseen orchestrator, aware that the game was far from over. You must subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Share this video right now with at least 5 friends who need to know how this ends. Don't wait another second. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel.